This program is brought to you by the Southwest TV Translator Association and supported by the Dolores County Broadcasting Network on DCTV.
The News at Noon program assembles the best news and local weather for the Four Corners region and brings it to you. Give us your feedback and news alerts at 677-4119.
I'm Kendra Cook, and my co-host is Kelsey Kiesling. And now for July 20th, 2016, here's the news. Cortez Journal reported that the men whose selfies got them in hot water this spring at Yellowstone came up this week in U.S. District Court. An affidavit filed at Yellowstone Justice Center in Mammoth, Wyoming, states that the men illegally walked 25 yards off the boardwalk at Grand Prismatic Spring on May 14th to take photos and video. The affidavits also said that they also came in contact with U.S. Park Ranger Mark Franklin at Mesa Verde on April 2nd. Franklin said on Monday, July 18th, that he observed the men flying a drone on the north side of the park, but he declined to comment further. It's illegal to operate a drone in national parks. The three Canadians, Charles Riker Gamble, Alexei Andreyovich Laika, and Justice Cooper Price Brown, face cases in many other National Park Service units, including Death Valley, according to U.S. Attorney Francis Leland Pico from minutes of the July 7th telephone status conference in the Wyoming court. A fourth man, Hamish McNabb Campbell Cross, was not initially issued a warrant, but has since been charged. According to the July 7th status conference, Cross is an independent filmmaker and has returned to New Zealand, defense attorney Thomas Fleener said. Under their warrant, the men may be arrested if they enter the U.S., even for a court hearing. Magistrate Mark Carman requested status conferences every 30 days in order to resolve the case quickly. The next conference is scheduled for August 8th. The men may also face misdemeanor charges at 2 Bureau of Land Management units in Utah, according to court documents. The men are associated with a clothing company called High on Life. They operate a Facebook page for the company titled High on Life Sunday Fun Days. The high-profile case drew thousands of commenters to the Facebook page. In a May 24th post, the group apologized and promised to donate $5,000 to Yellowstone National Park.
According to the Durango Herald, XTO Energy Incorporated was fined $10,000 on Tuesday for a spill in March that sent at least 70 barrels of produced water from natural gas drilling into Lone Hollow Creek, about 12 miles east of Durango. The Colorado Oil and Gas Commission approved the penalty, citing the Aztec-based operator for the failure to take reasonable precautions to prevent failures, leakage, and corrosion of pipelines. According to state documents, XTO discovered a produced water spill at a pipeline just north of U.S. Highway 160 on March 3rd and began cleanup operations. The next day, XTO determined the spill occurred because of equipment freezing on the pipeline and estimated the leak released 70 barrels, nearly 3,000 gallons of produced water, a byproduct of oil and gas operations. On March 8th, state inspectors found the spill had flowed into Lone Hollow Creek, where it commingled with snowmelt. Because the release entered a waterway, it constitutes a threat to waters of the state and requires a mandatory fine. State documents indicate XTO has taken actions to prevent any future spills. On March 28th, the state closed its investigation with conditions that if further levels of contaminants in the soil or groundwater exceed state standards, it could initiate further actions. Representatives of XTO did not respond to requests for comment.
Reported in the High Country News and the Journal, the Republican Party is drafting its 2016 platform, which represents a hard swerve to the right on social issues. But other parts of its stance have long been consistent, most notably its push for transferring federal lands to state control. Party platforms are not binding, but they do demonstrate party priorities, what the base thinks are the most important issues and beliefs. And they're important in steering politicians. Political scientist Gerald Pomper determined decades ago that lawmakers usually do cast votes that accord with platform positions, and that in presidential election years, about 2/3 of platform promises get fulfilled in some form during the following 4 years. According to reports from Oregon Public Broadcasting, this year's platform, which will be finalized at the GOP convention this week, includes a demand that the government, quote, immediately pass universal legislation providing the timely and orderly mechanism requiring the federal government to convey certain federally controlled public lands to the states. That's consistent with the ideas presented in the 2012 version, which suggested privatizing some of those lands. Quote, Congress should reconsider whether parts of the federal government's enormous land holdings and control of water in the West could be better used for ranching, mining, or forestry through private ownership. The enduring truth is that people best protect what they own. Many in the GOP have long been on the side of the sagebrush rebels. As far back as 1984, the party's platform called for decreasing federal holdings and increasing privatization. Quote, with due recognition of the needs of the federal government and mindful of environmental, recreational, and national defense needs, we believe the sale of some surplus land will increase productivity and increase state and local tax bases. It will also unleash the creative talents of free enterprise in defense of resource and environmental protection. By 1992, the wording in the platform more explicitly called for decreasing federal holdings and encouraging private development. They wrote, we also seek to reduce the amount of land owned or controlled by the government, especially in the western states, in order to provide an economic base for the people of the West. A public-private cooperative partnership on these lands for multiple use in an environmentally sound manner is imperative. Transfer champions such as Senator Lisa Murkowski, Republican Alaska, and Representative Bob Bishop, of Republican from Utah, are up for re-election this year. And if they win their races, as they will likely, they'll doubtless make such measures a central part of their legislative efforts. And the transfer drumbeat has been getting louder in many western counties. Even as some explicitly reject the idea of putting states in charge of public lands, others are signing up with the American Lands Council, which works to further the goal of returning lands to states.
According to the Cortez Journal, recent hot, dry, and breezy weather has resulted in extremely dry vegetation fuels throughout Mesa Verde National Park. Because of the very high fire danger, several fire restrictions will take effect as of July 16, 2016. No open fires are permitted throughout the park. This includes all the residences inside the park, as well as Moorfield Campground and the Chapin Mesa picnic area. Pressurized gas stoves and contained charcoal grills, Weber or Smoky Joe grills, are permitted at Moorfield Campground and the Chapin Mesa picnic area. No open wood-burning fires are allowed in the campground fire rings or anywhere else in the park. Smoking is only permitted inside enclosed vehicles. Fireworks are prohibited in the park. The restrictions will remain in effect until further notice. Due to the lack of forecasted precipitation in the near future, these restrictions may be in place for an extended period of time. Park officials appreciate cooperation in decreasing the potential for a catastrophic fire within the park.
From the Durango Herald, marijuana shops likely will be allowed to stay open later if they choose after getting the initial okay from the Durango City Council. Councilors have considered extending the closing time from 8 p.m. to midnight. In the end, they compromised on 10 p.m. as the latest time a marijuana shop could stay open. The decision came after weighing safety concerns against worries that customers were turning to the black market late at night. The ordinance still must be approved on further readings before becoming effective. Several councilors favored an earlier closing time because marijuana businesses are cash-based, and they didn't want employees leaving the buildings late at night, potentially with lots of money with them. Councilor Keith Brandt said, it likely doesn't make much business sense to stay open past 10 p.m. because that is the closing time of many liquor stores. Councilor Sweetie Marbury supported allowing shops to stay open until midnight to align the marijuana industry rules with liquor store regulations and to keep people from turning to the black market, but she ultimately voted for the compromise. In related action, after a public hearing, councilors also approved a licensing process for medical marijuana testing facilities. Orem Labs in the Durango Tech Center had been testing medical marijuana on a provisional basis, but a state law effective July 1st requires businesses to have a local license before applying for a state license to continue testing. This law also mandated medical marijuana be tested, and so for 3 weeks, Orem has been turning away business, said Luke Mason, president and co-founder. Mason and Steve Ottersberg with Green Lab Solutions Company, a new testing facility, called on the council to expedite the approval process. Councilors agreed to hold a special meeting if necessary to get the company's license by late August if possible.
According to the Cortez Journal, in the months after her 15-year-old brother-in-law's suicide in 2010, Megan Francone could not stop thinking about the details leading up to his death. His increasingly devout religious practices, or the gifts, like a computer for Christmas, the free airline tickets he said wouldn't be needing. Put together, they indicated a person who desperately needed someone to see he was struggling. But it was the unsecured gun in the basement of her brother-in-law's house that Francone dwelled on most. Now 31, she'd survived her own suicide attempt at 14 after cutting herself. What if she had found a gun, as Austin had? Growing up in rural northwestern Colorado, Franco never saw guns as a threat. Her father was a police officer, and she later married a hunter who owns 11 firearms, all secured. Even after her brother-in-law's suicide, Francone did not become anti-gun. But she could not ignore the fact that in Colorado, 78% of people who attempted suicide do so with a gun. And of those attempts, over 90% are fatal, compared with less than 1% for cutting. So Francone, who is also a member of the National Rifle Association, has become an advocate for firearm suicide awareness. 2 years ago, she became a local coordinator for Colorado's Gun Shop Project, a state-funded initiative that began in 2014 in the western part of the state to bring more suicide awareness to gun sellers and shooting ranges. The goal is to find local representatives who are both advocates for suicide prevention and supportive of gun rights, says Jared Hindman, the director of Colorado's Office of Suicide Prevention. Ambassadors urge retailers and shooting range owners to display posters and distribute brochures that help identify customers who may be at risk of suicide. That could be someone interested in buying a handgun without any apparent knowledge of guns, for example, or a person who struggles to answer basic questions about why he or she is purchasing a particular model. The project also informs gun dealers about operations for responding to such customers, such as suggesting the buyer take some time to think over the purchase, and notifying other local dealers and the police. And now, here's our weather report.
The satellite imaging shows we are still under clouds for our region, rotating counterclockwise, which is bringing us the rains and thunderstorm potentials today and forecast through the end of the week. Some more moisture off the southwest coast may be brought in as part of a pattern of more stormy potential next week after a break this weekend. You might catch online the viral video of the wall of dust that covered the city of Casa Grande, Arizona on July 19th. Some pretty spectacular winds happening down there. On to the national weather image. The map NOAA forecasts that rain potential over much of the country, while a severe heat wave holds over the Central Plains and Midwest, with triple-digit temperatures in the 100 to 120 degree range, making for an uncomfortable week, to say the least. That pattern heads eastward over the next couple of days, giving the midsection a break by the weekend while that looms over the northeast. And for our 5-day forecast, the DCTV says it's a continuing pattern of around 90 plus for the highs, with upper 50s for the lows, with 20% chance of rain this evening, tomorrow, and Friday in the afternoons and evenings, and then lowering to roughly 10% chances on each of the continuing days. However, this pattern may clear out for the weekend and then again start back up next week. A reminder that our sunrise today was at 6:04 a.m., sunset is estimated at 8:35 p.m., while our moonrise begins at 9:05 p.m., setting at 6:52 a.m. tomorrow with a waning gibbous moon. Back to you, Kelsey.
According to the Cortez Journal, due to a recent increase in unconfirmed sightings and reports of wolves in Colorado, in addition to confirmed sightings over the past several years, Colorado parks and wildlife officials say it is increasingly likely that the growing wolf populations and range in nearby states will eventually expand across state lines. To help prevent the illegal take of the species, officials are reminding the public that wolves remain protected by the Federal Endangered Species Act in Colorado. Each year, CPW wildlife managers traverse the state by land and air to classify big game, but none have observed wolf packs, dens, or any other evidence wolves exist at the population level in Colorado. Wildlife managers believe that is likely to change in the near future and are preparing for the eventual establishment of wolf populations in the state. Wolves are known to travel long distances, and we expect that they will continue to come into the state on their own. We have a duty to let the public know about this possibility to help prevent someone from accidentally killing a wolf, said CPW Director Bob Broscheid. Identifying the target and the species you are hunting is critical and a major tenet of safe and ethical hunting. Whether you are a trapper or an elk hunter, deer hunter, coyote hunter, or a landowner protecting livestock from predators, you must be sure of your target before you take any animal. Various incidents over the past several years confirmed that wolves occasionally visit northern Colorado, including a wolf killed in a vehicle collision on Interstate 70 near Idaho Springs in 2004.
From the Durango Herald report, the James Ranch pursues a land use permit to grow its commercial operations while La Plata County officials are tasked with figuring out how much noise is too much noise in the peaceful Animas Valley. The family-owned ranch 10 miles north of Durango on U.S. Highway 550 is seeking a commercial permit from the county with plans to expand its kitchen and market, obtain a liquor license, lengthen its operating season, and possibly allow special events such as weddings. The application, submitted last fall, is nearing the end of the review process. It is expected to go before the County Planning Commission before the end of the year. The request proposes a longer business season, increasing winter hours from 1 to 3 days, and with potential to open year-round. Over the past few months, county planners have been processing the permit request, an effort that involves checking out the ranch's weekly Burger and a Band summer concert series. County planner Daniel Murray said there has been some concern with the noise level, and we're taking noise measurements to figure this out. Live music is hardly new. About 2 years ago, when the owners opened the Harvest Grill and Green food cart, they also introduced a weekly live music night during summer months to entertain customers. But when the owners appealed to the county to expand the business, a few local residents took the opportunity to tell the county that the music has been a little too much for the rural area. The difficulty lies in that the county, though it has a broad compatibility requirement, does not have specific regulations to address noise levels. Dan James, who runs the dairy farm with his wife Becca, said he understands the need for quiet on a personal level. James said the neighbors' angst came as a surprise, and there are no plans to increase the number of live music events. Whatever the county determines, the goal of the James Ranch will remain focused on delivering farm-to-table food. The changes proposed under the permit are less about events and more about improving efficiency for employees and service for customers, James said. It's hard to keep employees seasonally. You lose them in the winter, and we want to get a better facility for the restaurant because they're cooking in a cracker box right now. The market is tiny and dark. We're looking to provide a better shopping and dining experience. The plan is to consolidate the restaurant and market into one new facility, which will allow the Harvest Grill and Greens to expand its menu. If the permit is allowed, plans to have the new operation running are aimed for next summer. In the meantime, Thursday live music will continue as the county works through the permit application and identifies appropriate parameters for events and performances.
According to the Cortez Journal, a group of Fort Lewis College engineering students left a unique mark on the campus. The first student-designed building. 7 physics and engineering department students spent the fall 2015 semester designing a composting and equipment storage facility for Fort Lewis College's Environmental Center, a student organization that focuses on sustainable practices and ethical treatment of the environment, said Lori Williams, engineering professor at FLC and faculty mentor to the seniors. It was part of their senior seminar capstone experience. The project required the students to comply with Colorado's state building codes, guidelines under the Americans with Disabilities Act, as well as meet the needs of the Environmental Center and expectations of FLC, Williams said. It was a real client-engineer situation where they had to repeatedly go back and get information clarified and get through several iterations. The seniors and Williams applied for grants through the college and La Plata Electric Association, and they also received non-grant funding from FLC for the faculty, said Matt Kleinert, a senior involved in the design. The need for the facility was established last summer when Rachel Landis, director of the center, asked Williams for assistance with an issue with the center's composting program, Williams said. That means they get infested with rodents and are overly wet, which leads to unpleasant odors when they are run through the college's composting machine in the student union, she said. Landis believed it was an opportunity to further her organization's mission of advancing sustainability and creating change through hands-on projects for students.
The Cortez Journal reported from Mancos on the Cattle Drive Coffee Shop, a new place to eat next to the Hogan Trading Post, 38651 U.S. Highway 160 in Mancos. The owners are Glenn and Diane Davis, who moved from Anacortes, Washington, to retire in Mancos and to be near Glenn's mother, Mary Davis. Glenn spent many years in Mancos as a child, and when he introduced the area to Diane, she fell in love with it too, and here they are. Cattle Drive Coffee, only 3 miles from the center of Mancos, opened July 14th with ice cream, coffee, sandwiches, paninis, soup, biscuits and gravy, and breakfast burritos. Their ice cream is from Moose and More in Cortez. The P&D Grocery sells ice cream cones too, but P&D is better known for its meat and new baked goods. Both are incomparable. The Absolute Bakery on Main Street posted a notice this week. The town has worn them out, so they will be taking every Monday off. Speaking of food, a cute little yellow bus was spotted across from the post office, labeled Green Table Cafe. Can we expect another new place to eat? Don't worry, Millwood Restaurant, the bus doesn't look big enough to hold more than a party of 4. Also in Mancos, start saving up. The Bounty Hunter on Grand Avenue is having a liquidation sale on August 6th. Everything goes. They have a great selection of antiques, leather goods, and lots of things you just can't live without. They have been there for so long it will be missed. And next weekend, Grand Summer Nights will be accompanying Mancos Days on July 29th. The Good Night Gallery will be featuring artists Susan Madison and Peter Campbell with a large selection of their new paintings, Western music by local musicians, and of course, plenty of goodies.
And now the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of July 11th through July 17th. The Sheriff's Office received a report of a bear that damaged bee supplies in a garage. A deputy investigated a 911 hang-up. Everything was fine upon investigation. A deputy investigated a report of speeding on county roads. A report was made of possible animal abuse occurring in the county. A home health care representative reported a possible gas leak in town. A Dolores County Sheriff's deputy, responders from Dove Creek, Volunteer Fire Department, and Atmos Energy responded. A motorist reported a reckless driver traveling on Highway 491. Colorado State Patrol was able to stop the vehicle in Montezuma County. Also, a sheriff note discourages open burning. It states, although there is not a fire ban in Dolores County, Sheriff Jerry Martin is discouraging any open burning in the county. With the recent wind and dry weather pattern, fire danger is increasing. Conditions will be monitored closely by the Sheriff and Forest Service, with the possibility of a fire ban being implemented in the near future. Please report any smoke sighting to dispatch so a quick response can be made by the fire department. He said the community's cooperation is deeply appreciated. That's it for this week. Stay tuned next week for more updates.
In today's High Country happenings, important public meeting is being held to discuss the 2016 recreational release from McPhee Dam. There will be a panel discussion with members of the Dolores Water Conservancy District and Dolores River boating advocates. It will be held at the Dolores Community Center at 6 p.m. Tuesday, July 26th, in order to hear the operational recap and share your experiences. The public is encouraged to provide feedback about this year's 2016 spill and management of McPhee. If you cannot make the public meeting in Dolores, please email your comments to josh@doloresriverboating.org. The Cortez Public Library sponsors a Craftapalooza on Friday, July 22nd. From 2 to 4 p.m. it will feature Moose and More, the Pinion Project, Montalora's Early Childhood Council, Painted Turtle, Four Corners Miniature Club, and Safe Colorado. For details, call the library at 970-565-8117. There's a Dolores County tire cleanup Saturday, July 23rd at the Cajon Transfer Station from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Bring only passenger tires up to 17 inches, no rims, and a limit of 9 per carload. And you also must bring a valid license and proof of residency. Here's an interesting notice. Something called MB906 is a new option to control cheatgrass, jointed goat grass, and medusa head. Jeff Chris of BioWest Ag, a supplier for the MB906, will be making presentations in the area on Wednesday, July 20th in Durango at 6 p.m. at the San Juan Public Lands Center and Thursday, July 21st at 9:30 a.m. in Mancos at the Mount Lookout Grange, in Cortez at 2 p.m. at the Rec Center, and in Dove Creek at 5 p.m. at the Dove Creek County Commissioners Chambers at the Courthouse Building. It is a soil inoculant containing naturally occurring bacteria that helps to inhibit the root growth of those annoying grasses. For questions, call Robbie Haynes at 970-565-8722. And a shout out for a happy birthday for Oma Fleming, who is still recovering from injuries. Next week, we'll let you know some of the fundraising activities happening to support her and the others who were in the elevator accident a few months back. We'd love to share information about what's happening to support all of the regional groups, individuals, and communities. Send us an email to dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station at 677-4119. All of the High Country happenings and the replay of this show are available on our Facebook page.
Again, thanks for tuning in. This program is aired live at noon and rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m. on Channel 32.1 Dolores County. on Channel 30.4 in Montezuma County and their cable Channel 5.
And you can also rewatch the broadcast on YouTube and embedded on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page.
For Kendra Cook and all those who are working to bring you DCTV and the News at Noon program from Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. See you next time.